for Black America, it's just another year. You knew the disrespect by your elected puppeteers, but let me show you how to persevere.
Yo, what's up, everybody? It's your boy, Jay Costa, one half of the Nitty Gritty Show. Katrina's with us in spirit. She's downstairs chilling, keeping the baby company. I think she's probably checking out the All-Star game. She might jump on the live with us here in the comments, but y'all just have this plain old face to look at. For the meantime, I'm here. I know we haven't been here in a minute. I think our last show was last year. The end off the year. I think it was probably the last. I think it was the last Sunday in the month. I think it might have been second to last or something like that. So we took a nice little break. Probably came back sooner, but I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I wasn't feeling too great. Obviously Katrina's pregnant, but then on top of that, your boy was going through it. Long story short, without getting into too much, but basically I found out I had sarcoidosis. Nothing too serious, but it can be serious. But lucky for me, it felt unlucky at the time, but I had multiple symptoms at once. So that allowed the doctors to kind of pinpoint to figure out what it is. Sarcoidosis and any autoimmune can get really serious if they don't catch it early enough. But in my case, they were able to catch it early. I was able to get, steroid treatments and everything for it. So, obviously I'm feeling better. I'm healthier. I can walk. I can see. These were things that I can breathe. These were things that were kind of difficult to do over the last 2 months. And I'm here. I was like, man, getting hazed into 40 is no joke. But we made it. Friends and family kept me in prayer. So I'm good to go. So, we here. So God bless and all that. And of course, February is my favorite month. Everybody that knows me know, I love the month of February. First of all, when we talk about February, I mean, number one, it's Black History Month, right? So we gotta love that. But February is also my birthday month, so the month of Kings. So yeah, this is always a month we celebrate. So February for me has always been lit. I'm always excited about February when they come around, biasly and unbiasedly. Most of it's biased, but hey, I think that's all right. But as far as some sponsorship, let me shout out two great businesses. Actually, they're both located in Tennessee. Shout out to Granny Sue Records, Granny Sue Records LLC. You can find them on YouTube at Granny Sue Records. They have a few releases from some of their artists. You can check out some of their music. Got some dope stuff. If you want to possibly get signed or reach out to the ownership, you can email them at outar2, that's OUTAR, numeral 2 at yahoo.com. And then also shout out to OCB. Check them out on YouTube or their Facebook page, Outer Control Bullies. That's Outer spelled OUTTA, Control, and then Bullies. Check them out. Their YouTube page is on fire. They give out a lot of great information on just the bully world, on some of the folks they partner with, some of the people they breed with. So some really cool stuff. So check that out. Really good stuff coming from both of them. Thank you guys for being our business sponsors for this program. Also, let's get into some current news. And I know it's a little dead in the comments, but I don't think a lot of y'all realized I was doing a show. I just I just did it, But it's cool. We here. We gonna talk my stuff. I mean, y'all can always. Good thing about YouTube, yeah, it's live, but I can always catch it after the fact. A lot of people always catch it after the fact, and that's cool too. Shoot me a little message later on. Tell me how you feel. Leave a message under the joint. It's all good. But current news, All-Star Weekend is going on right now. Shout out to Dr. Alex Hill. I seen you out there fresh to death every night. You know what I'm saying? Man, was sitting courtside. I'm like, dang, that's what's up. Shout out to my people. Man, that dude was fresh. But anyways, sitting out there courtside at All-Star Weekend yesterday. I saw you still at the festivities today, so shout out to you. Shout out to my man Jason Carver, who's out there in that area. Man, I look like you guys had a blast. HBCU game and all that kind of stuff. Shout out to Matt McClung, winning the dunk contest. This is his second year in a row. That's pretty cool. Damian Lillard run the three-point contest. I think that's either his second time in a row or third time. If you know in the comments, correct me, but I'm pretty sure he won last year for sure, and he won again. But this might have been a three-peat. I know it was the first time since 2007 or something that somebody either three-peated or doubled wins back-to-back on the three-point contest. So, I mean, history was broken. Steph Curry made history going up against, I forgot old girl name. I left it off the announcements, but she called him out from the WNBA. And she put up points. I mean, it wasn't embarrassing. It ended up being 29-26 and both of their charities got $25,000 apiece. Then combined, based off their points, they combined for the NBA Foundation. I think like a $55,000 check was made for that based off the amount of points they scored. She scored like 26 points. He scored 29 points. The reason why that's significant, 26 points is what won the traditional three-point contest. So if she was shooting against the guys, she would have been, you know, she would have been up there to possibly like tie or win that. So she was shooting for sure. You know, that just shooting good for a girl. She was a shooter. And Steph Curry though, 29 points. I mean, if he kept that same performance against the guys, he would have won the three-point contest. So he's like a cheat code. He's like a 99 player from 2K. So yeah, Naptown is lit right now. Currently, as we speak, the All-Star game is on. I'm pretty sure a lot of people are tuning into that. But I was like, you know, I got to do something for the Nitty Gritty show. You know, we done left y'all for a long time. I got to get in before the month is out, right? We only got 2 Sundays left. So I'm like, let me get up here and say my piece. And it's not every year that we get a leap year. So it's like, come on, Mom. Black History Month, let's do it. So, yeah, you know, we want to talk about a few things. I wanted to highlight just a few things this Black History Month, so y'all already know which way I'm going. And, you know, just some things to look forward to as far as, like, the year, considering the importance of this year. Once again, it's a leap year, so that means it's also an election year, right? And, you know, we talk a lot about this, talk a lot about that, but there's a few things I hit on that I think as a community we should be watchful for going forward. When it comes to our voting, and I'm not going to try to tell you to vote Democrat. I'm not going to tell you to vote Republican. I'm not going to tell you to vote independent. I'm not going to tell you to be conservative or liberal. But I do want you to consider policy and how that affects you. And if you find that one candidate is better supporting your policy, and it might be that the candidate that supports your policies at the federal level might be a Democrat. But then the candidate that supports your policies best at the local level might be Republican, or at the state level might be independent. So don't be closed off to voting down the party line. Vote policy and who's going to put those policies in place. I think that's the best way to instruct people, because I don't believe in none of these parties, honestly. And I just try to find the best people that make sense to me and try to make the most of that as far as creating who's creating the best policies for me as a resident of Prince George's County, living in Maryland, right? And being a veteran. Being a husband, being a father, right? These are the things that I think about when I'm thinking about policies and how they affect my family. And I think this is how we all should take the voting versus us saying, I'm going to blindly vote X, Y, Z. Then you're voting against your interests in the name of policy or legislation. We got to stop doing that. So before we get into some more of that, just want to talk about the history of Black History Month. I normally put something out for that, but like I said, I wasn't feeling too hot. I just started feeling decent probably like over the last week. But I always like to go over the quick history of the Black History Month. So I'm going to run through that real quick. Maybe cut this up and then like put it in snippets because I think it's important. One, when we're talking Black History Month, it starts in 1926. I get tired of people talking about, oh, it's the smallest month. I think the information's out now, but some people don't realize that back in 1926, Black History Month wasn't even a thing. It was literally known as Negro History Week, created by Carter G. Woodson and the Association of the Study of Negro Life and History. It was chosen to coincide with the birthdays of Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass in the second week of February. So back then, 1 week to coincide with the birthdays of Abraham Lincoln, Frederick Douglass. Keep in mind, that's why we have President's Day. Part of that is also built around the fact that it's near Lincoln's birthday, right? Then in the 1940s and the 1950s, we're going to skip up about 2 decades or so. We saw that the celebration of Negro History Week gradually expanded in some cities to become a month-long celebration, reflecting a growing awareness and pride in African-American contributions to the American story. So when you think about places like Florida and these, when you think about people like Elon Musk and what he's saying about the no need for DE&I, kind of silly because Black History Month doesn't take away or exclude even African Americans from American history. It adds to. There are so many contributions we've made in science and in inventions and things of that nature that we don't get credit for because we weren't allowed to take credit for it due to the history of America. So when we're learning about the true history, it's good to know the actual origins. This is one of the reasons why we kind of lag behind a lot of European countries and Asian countries and even some African countries when it comes to education, because we want to teach a partial truth. And then when our children go to compete at the highest levels, they're competing based off falsities that are not actually all factual. And that's a problem when you're trying to compete at the larger scale. Better to give somebody all the information, learn from the information, and to go forward. If you don't want your kids to have kids at an early age, if you did, I was a young parent, 21 years old, then I want to be very honest about where babies come from talking to my children. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to excuse the things I did wrong in the process. We're going to keep it very real. We're going to keep it very factual because I don't want you repeating what I did that was necessarily beneficial for us as a family, right? You can only do that if you have the honest conversation. If I try to sweep everything under the rug and just pretend, oh, it was all good, but clearly me and your mama ain't together no more, then something must have went wrong, and someone has to take onus for that and say, okay, here's what went wrong. Here's how we could do better. My kids knowing the truth of the past doesn't hurt them. It only benefits them so that way they don't repeat it. So for those that might be white out there watching this, it doesn't hurt your children to know that maybe their ancestors a long time ago or someone that looked like them enslaved black people or treated black people wrong or supported segregation. You get it? Hey, that was something that your great-grandparents did, your grandparents did. They did wrong. That's fine. We're not going to repeat the mistakes of what our grandparents did. Shout out to Trevor Noah in his last special he did towards the end of last year. That's one of the things in his comedy special he talked about with Germany. Germany doesn't hide from its ugly past. They embrace it. They look at face first. And they let Germans know this is not how we live going forward. That Germany is no longer today's Germany. And the same thing could be for America. Yesterday's America doesn't have to be today's America. We don't have to forget and move on, right? But we can move forward when we can address it. You do that in AA and NA, right? First thing they say in Narcotics Anonymous or Alcoholic Anonymous, you have to admit that I'm an alcoholic. You have to admit that I'm a narcotic. For those that go to church, one of the first things you do when coming to Jesus, coming to God, whatever the case is, normally it doesn't matter what faith you belong to, one of the first things is a form of repentance, right? And then some type of announcement of understanding that you yourself are not enough without God, without Allah, whoever you worship, correct? So the same way we fix these things in therapy, Narcotics Anonymous, Alcoholic Anonymous, or even from a spiritual plane, it's going to work on the political plane. Until we can say, yes, America has been a racist country. This has been a problem. I've seen people from Clyburn to Harris to Biden to a bunch of Republicans even try to say that this country is not racist, but we have redlining. We have clear disparities in classism that has been created based off racism. And then we see reports from Navy Federal and Wells Fargo and all these companies that have denied black applicants the same access to capital as white folks that they're equally qualified as. Then we have an issue in this country. Let's just stop walking away from it. Let's just address it. America has a problem. These are the legislative things we're going to put in place to fix that problem. This is how we move forward. We're not going to run away from the past. This is not to make white kids today to feel bad for something that maybe their granddad or their great-grandparents did. This is so that they can be better than them. This is that we can all be better moving forward. I think that's pretty simple, right? Then moving forward with Black History Month, that history. Sorry, I had to make that little sidebar. It just felt right. Felt right in the moment. 1960s, the Civil Rights Movement significantly influenced the expansion of Negro History Week into Black History Month as African Americans increased demands for recognition for their contributions and a re-examination of history, right? Just basically what I was just talking about. In the 1970s, we see that the first proposal for Black History Month is made by black educators and students at Kent State University in February of 1970. They actually celebrated for 2 months when they did it the first time. Then in 1976, Black History Month is officially recognized by the federal government of the United States. President Gerald Ford urges Americans to seize the opportunity to honor the too often neglected accomplishments of black Americans in every area of endeavor throughout our history. In 1987, the United Kingdom began celebrating Black History Month in October, following an initiative of Ghanaian analyst Akiba Adu-Sibu, who worked in the Greater London Council and launched it in London. Then in 1995, we see Canada officially recognizes Black History Month, following a motion introduced by the first black Canadian woman elected to Parliament, the Honorable Jean Augustine. February is chosen to coincide with the United States celebration. And then in the 2000s, the present, we see that Black History Month continues to be a time for reflection, education, and celebration of the achievements and contributions of black people to society. It has also sparked discussions on the representation of black history throughout the year, just beyond February, right? So this education is important. We all need to take part of it. Black History Month is not just for black people. It is for all Americans, or all people living in Canada, or all people living in the United Kingdom that benefit from the contributions of black people. If you're one of those patriotic folks, then you should love Black History Month because you get to learn about people like Christmas addicts. If you're into driving your car and know that it's safe, you should love the traffic light. You are a fan of Black History Month. If you're one of those folks, and we know this is typically not black people, right? But if you like exploration and the idea of going into the mountains, going to travel to all these interesting clandestine places and all that, then you are also a fan of Black History Month because you can celebrate someone like Matthew Henson, right? So once again, our history is all of our history when we're talking about the achievements of black Americans, right? Because at the end of the day, they're Americans. When I fought in Iraq, no one looked and said, oh, he's a black American, slow your bullets down. All they saw was I had that flag on just like everybody else, and they shot at me the same way they did my white counterparts. I seen them tear up Obama flags the same way they tore up Bush flags. So at the end of the day, we're all Americans, right? So when we celebrate Black History Month, don't look at it as a spite against American history. It's an addition. It raises the value of overall American history. You got to keep that in mind. Also, I hear a lot of debates about, the word Negro and African American. Let's just go over that real quick. History of the word Negro. Originated from the Spanish and Portuguese, a word for black, used to describe sub-Saharan African descent. We also know around 1300s, around that time, that's when color-based racism was invented. Because during the Spanish Inquisition, they got tired of having to inquire, right? Inquisition, root word, inquire. They got tired of having to ask questions or figure out if somebody was a Christian or Catholic or not. So then they started saying, well, you know what? And the reason why they couldn't just assume, because a lot of original Christians are black, right? You look no further than Ethiopia, the oldest Bible, right? If you want to see the greatest connection to Hebrews and stuff like that, look no further than Ethiopia and Eritrea, and you'll see those people. But they got tired of asking questions, because back then, wars were a lot of times decided by faith or initiated by faith and culture. And you have to ask questions to understand someone's culture or their faith or their background. So what they started doing is saying, you know what? Let's just do this. We come across a person of color. We'll just go up against them first, because the chances of them not being maybe Catholic like us is higher. And that's how a lot of color-based racism was started by the Spanish and Portuguese during the Spanish Inquisition. The term Negro became prevalent in English language by the 16th century, widely adopted by the United States during the 18th and 19th centuries. By the earliest 20th century, it was considered a respectful term, replacing derogatory terms previously in use, like nigga, right? Just call it monkey, and all kind of little Sambo and all kind of disrespectful crap they said, pickaninny. Yeah, those are some of the words that they said. Yeah, and they was like, Negro was a better term, right? For a while. Its usage began to decline though in the 1960s during the Civil Rights Movement. It was also associated with an era of segregation and discrimination. If you think about colored bathrooms, Negro only, right? So it almost became had a negative connotation to it, right? Replaced by more self-assertive, prideful terms like black and African American by the late 20th century. Currently is considered outdated and potentially offensive, reflecting historical context of oppression, right? So is Negro really a bad term? I mean, when you think about, the National Negro League and stuff like that, even like terms like colored. I mean, we have the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. I mean, obviously they have some old terms that we may found antiquated, but that's why it's important to understand the history of the terms and when they started to change. And as for the term African American, we see that it emerged in the United States during the late 20th century as part of a broader shift towards self-identification and cultural pride. The term emphasizes dual heritage of individuals of African descent in America, recognizing both their African heritage and their American citizenship. And that's an interesting place for black people because now that the world is getting smaller as far as our travel, social media, internet, we see that we're not always received well, even when going into Africa, right? So it's kind of like you want to accept your African heritage, but at the same time, are you always accepted when you go back there? But we know that we're not always accepted here. So it's this idea of knowing we come from somewhere else, but knowing that this is all you know to be home if you've been here for 4 or 5 generations, whether it's a broken down understanding of your history or not. So there's something to think about. Also, the term African American gained prominence in the 1980s and the early 1990s, encouraged by leaders within the African American community as a way to affirm identity and connection to the African diaspora. Officially adopted by major institutions, media, and academia, reflecting a broader societal acceptance in the terms inclusivity, used to describe Americans of African descent with ancestral roots in sub-Saharan Africa, encompassing a wide range of cultural and ethnic backgrounds, determines preferred in formal and respectful contexts, highlighting the importance and acknowledging both historical and contemporary experiences of African Americans, continues to be used alongside Black, which is often preferred for its global inclusiveness, referring to people of African descent worldwide. So let's not forget our Caribbean brothers and sisters, folks in the European areas. We see places like Belgium. They have a lot of Black people there, people of African descent. We see that with the Aborigines in Australia. So, when you think about the African diaspora, it is so broad. When you think about the coastal towns of Brazil or going into Colombia, Blackness is such a broad range, and that's how we've come to the point. I wanted to go over that because I get so tired of people misusing it and talking about it and having these conspiracies. Why didn't we get the month of June? There was a reason, but there is something important about the month of June when it comes to Black people, because we celebrate Juneteenth. And the reason why that's important when it comes to Black people, the reason why so many family reunions are in June, is because that was a time that we would reach out to connect with family members we were displaced from. Some had stayed in the South, some had moved up north for better opportunities. So while we were celebrating Juneteenth, our freedom, we would also celebrate that freedom of being able to find family members. And that's why, if you guys are wondering why the such and such family reunions is always in June or this time frame, a lot of it actually goes back to the history of Juneteenth. So June is really another big month for Black people in history. Just figured I throw that one out there for fun. But we know why Black History Month falls in February. We're not going to change what Brother Woodson did to start that off. It makes sense. It grew from there. Shout out to the folks at Kent and some of those other cities that started celebrating it. And we are where we are today. But no conspiracy. Black person started it. There's nothing more to it. Now, let's really get down to the nitty gritty. Let me take another sip, y'all. Need some water. Well, that's some tea, but I got some water too. So let's talk about voting concerns for 2024 for Black America. And like I said, I won't be before y'all too long today. I just wanted to cover some basic things. Right? This is a basic show. Y'all done heard a lot of this stuff before, but let's go over it. In 2024, there's a few things I highlighted I think we should break down as far as major concerns of the Black community, right? I think, not in any particular order, but the first one I'll start with is voter rights and suppression. Ensuring fair access to voting and combating laws and practices that disproportionately disenfranchise Black voters. This includes opposition to voter ID laws, gerrymandering, and polling places closures in predominantly Black neighborhoods. If you live in a state where this is going on, this is something that you should be asking your state representative, your local mayor, get involved with your senator. And your senator more so represents you on the federal level, but yeah, your state representatives for sure. Get in front of your governor. Tell them, hey, this is something we need to address. What's going on with the polling? Why are you making voting so hard for us? Those are the folks you talk to, right? Next one, criminal justice reform. Addressing systematic racism within the criminal justice system. This includes police reform, reducing mass incarceration, ending cash bail, and tackling disproportionate sentencing to Black individuals, right? Once again, a lot of times this doesn't happen at the local level. When we're looking at who's going to be appointed to chief of police, you're looking at your local mayor or your county executive, or in some cases they run for those offices for sheriff. You need to start asking those people, how do you feel about these things? When we're looking at folks like the district attorney. Not all district attorneys are pressed to lock people up. Some of them want to present things fairly. I know a few people within the DA's office in Washington, D.C., and, these are not folks looking to hem folks up. Somebody's guilty. They're like, hey, you have to be punished, but punished accordingly. We're not going to throw the book at you because you stole a car. But, maybe there's an opportunity for you to change some things. Or, people get locked up over things like child support or stuff like that. It's like, shout out to Killer Mike, who gave a really good idea of just how we can reform how we go about these things. And once again, bringing up Killer Mike, Sometimes the folks you engage with may not be who you wanted to vote for. Maybe that wasn't the governor you voted for, but that's the governor. I think we have to get in our head that just because we didn't vote for that president or that governor or that state representative or that congressman, it doesn't mean we're no longer allowed to engage them. They represent us too, right? If somebody gets in that you didn't vote for, guess what? Well, you now represent me because I'm part of the people of your jurisdiction. So you have to listen to me now because it's my tax dollars that pay your salary, right? And at that point, all right, I didn't vote for that person, cool. But I can still engage him. I'm not going to give you the photo op, but you're going to hear what I got to say. I'm going to write a letter. I'm going to talk to you and tell you, hey, this is what I think you should be doing. And you'll be surprised. Some of these folks that you would think even they're your enemy, they might listen to you once you engage them. But how often are we engaging folks that we didn't vote for, right? And so then we were looking at things that's critical, like criminal justice reform, or being able to put pressure on privatization of private prisons and the money they make in the private industrial prison complex. I just mixed all the words together. I'm sorry, y'all. But these are the things that we combat when we talk to people on the other side of the aisle, or maybe the person we didn't vote for, right? Economic inequality. This is a big one, right? Because this is the economy is shot for a lot of people. But, black people sometimes feel it more because of social economic disadvantages that we come across due to bias and prejudice. So when we look at economic inequality, bridging the wealth gap and addressing economic disparities that affect black Americans, including wage inequality, access to affordable housing, and disparities in employment opportunities. For instance, like a lot of people always say, oh, y'all get affordable housing, y'all get to stay in the projects all the time. But how often do we get Section 8 vouchers, right? How often do we get the feel of living like a regular Americans, which we know a lot of our white counterparts do get, living in the rural South more often than we do, right? And then the idea that someone, shout out to Dr. Rashawn Ray with the University of Maryland and the Brookings Institute, he had put out a study that was done. We actually mentioned it on the Nitty show before, that there are some white folks out there, some of our white counterparts with a felony conviction are more likely to get a job than a black person with no conviction who's also qualified for the job, right? So we talk about, black men need to work, black men to do this, but then it's kind of like, well, what do we do to address those things? And that's when you have to put pressure on federal policy more so. And then that's when you start understanding when your state is enacting policies that says, well, D&I doesn't matter. Like, no, it does. And this is where we have to also be vocal at the job. If your job doesn't have a business readiness group for, a classification of blacks, maybe veterans and stuff like that, this is where we fight to create that so we have representation. So that way the CEOs and the leadership of these companies don't ignore the fact that, hey, are we firing or hiring less people that are black? And, are we ignoring a lot of great candidates just because they're black? These are the things we need to consider. So it's an important part of our dialogue that has to be in the fabric of everything we do. And I know black folks, it gets tiresome. It's like, I don't want to keep on having to do this, but it's necessary. It's very necessary. Another big one, healthcare access. Ensuring equitable access to quality healthcare and addressing racial disparities in health outcomes, particularly highlighted by the COVID-19 pandemic impact on the black community, right? One I want to bring out is the mortality rate for women and when it comes to birthing, right? The history of the medical community, in the OBGYN practice especially, is based off racism. The fact that this doctor was able to perform all these surgeries on black slave women, and his excuse was black slave women are better at taking pain. So the stuff he was doing, like practicing hysterectomies, practicing all these different birth procedures that we do to this day, like C-sections and all that. I mean, you're talking about cutting through 7 layers of skin with a C-section. And he was just practicing that. Imagine how many people had to die and suffer. That's cruel and unusual. That's like watching a horror movie. That's some Saw type crap, right? And he was just practicing on women, and he got away with it by saying, "Oh yeah, this is black women. They're like animals. They can take the pain. They have a better aversion to pain than other people." But because he said that, it's baked into the idea of the medical system. So when black women complain about their pain, especially in birth, it gets ignored. And so many black women have died literally on the birthing table It's a very scary place for black women. I don't want black women to live in fear when it comes to babies, but we're not going to act as if this is not a concern to black families, right? And it's all based in racism. So when we bring up the past, people, it's not so much to make people feel bad. It's just so that we could course correct. And we can't course correct if we keep on acting as if there's nothing to correct from, right? Education, advocating for equitable funding for public schools, addressing the achievement gap, and ensuring access to higher education without the burden of excess student loan debt, right? Part of it, just educating people on what's available, but at the same time, like being real about the dispersion of funds. Montgomery County is one of the best counties in Maryland for education, but there's a clear disparity between the west side of the county, which is like places like Bethesda and Chevy Chase, versus the east side of the county, when you're talking about Laurel and Silver Spring, where those places are more diverse. The best schools, everybody knows, is in the southwest side of the county, because that's where all the wealth resides, right? Or going up to the middle when you're going like towards Olney, right? Because that's where all the money is. But once you start going deeper into like Gaithersburg, or if you start going, east, going towards that PG line, them schools don't compare. No one who sends their kid to Woodrow Wilson or sends their kid to Bethesda Community is going to be like, oh, let me send my kids to the STEM program at Blair. They're not doing that. They're not sending their kids to Montgomery County, to Wheaton High School or JFK. And if you lived in the area, you would know what I mean. You can look it up. We have a really nice magnet program between, I think it's Blair, Wheaton, and JFK. And let's just be honest, those kids that live in the southwest side of the county out there in Rockville and Bethesda and Chevy Chase, those kids are not being bused to those other schools, because the schools they are in are just fine. And that's by purpose and design, right? Environmental justice, addressing the disproportionate impact of environmental issues on black communities, including pollution, access to clean water, and the effects of climate change. Look no further than Detroit, right? Flint, Michigan, the water crisis we have there. Even living here in DC, I notice I can go into a neighborhood, just a county away, and I don't see certain trash and stuff around the street. Like, they work hard to get that stuff picked up. And then, being in an area like Hyattsville, or you go into like Landover, you see all kind of trash on the same interstate streets that cross through, other parts of the state. Those parts will be clean, but somehow we get into Landover, Capitol Heights, and now it's a mess down 95, right? Racial discrimination, combating systematic racism and discrimination in all areas of life, including employment, housing, and the legal system, right? We kind of covered that already, but these are the things we need to consider. When you're voting in 2024, these are the things I want you to, I would hope will be at the forefront of your mind when you're making a decision for your local representative or your president, okay? Immigration, addressing the needs of black immigrants and ensuring humane immigration policies that consider the racial and national diversity of immigration population, right? A lot of people come to that border, and we let certain things through. It's amazing how we just got the border wide open, but then we was quick to tell them Haitians to go back to Haiti. And they were in crisis, and we blocked that up quick. And now they're fumbling here at the state and Senate houses on any type of decent immigration reform. But when it was the Haitians, they didn't let them through. And this is what we mean about the overarching idea of what black is. Because oftentimes we see that, when it was clearly, these are black immigrants, it was a problem. We've seen this in Ukraine, how they treated some of the black students trying to leave. Immigration issues are not even just affecting America, but some of the people that we sending a bunch of money to, they don't know how to act right. And these are the things we think about when we vote, or we should. And then two more things I'll address. One, gun violence and public safety. Tackling gun violence, which disproportionately affects black communities through comprehensive gun control measures and community-based safety initiatives. And let's be honest with this gun thing. I don't know too many black folks that's out here moving guns from Ireland. But we know a lot of guns are coming out of Ireland. We know we manufacture a lot of guns here in America. But I don't know too many black folks that own gun stores, right? I don't know too many black folks that own ships and stuff like that. But somehow, those boys in Chicago, they got AK-47s and all kind of stuff, right? These kids in Memphis and Atlanta, they got all kind of armament. And we see what kind of people typically get into those kind of guns, right? but somehow they end up in the hands of these young folks that haven't even been taught how to control their emotions, and they were surprised when there's mass shootings on every block. And yes, I did accuse black folks of mass shootings, because if you kill more than 3 people at a time and you split up a block, guess what? That's a mass shooting, right? We don't always equate mass shootings to black folks, but that's a form of mass shooting, folks. Just because they shot up a bunch of opposing gang members, still a mass shooting. That was still somebody's son, somebody's brother, somebody's, someone's loved one that was just deterred in the wrong fashion. And we just gotta be real about what that is, okay? And I think we really want to look at gun control. We got to look at it from a higher level. We always try to address it at the street level, at the state level. It's not going to happen there. We know everything that is happening in the world, but somehow we don't see where the guns are being funneled into the hood in the black community. That's BS. And let's start being real about it, right? And then, last but not least, representation and leadership. Ensuring black representation in elected and appointed positions at all levels of government to influence policies that affect black Americans. But true representation. Representation doesn't look like someone like Tim Scott, in my personal opinion, right? Representation doesn't necessarily look like Kamala Harris, because I feel like she hasn't been that vocal. Don't get me wrong, she's been around some key policies and some conversations while she's in there, but I just don't think that voice has been heard enough. You know what I'm saying? Now, Fannie in Atlanta, that's a black woman with a strong voice. You know what I'm saying? And I know that we love Stacey Abrams, but we use her for election years, so we'll start talking about her later in the year, but it's kind of like, where's the love she get all year long? Shout out to people like Tesla and Figaro that organize and do their thing on a regular. Shout out to the people with boots on the ground that's constantly always working, trying to get stuff done. Shout out to people like my cousin Robert White. They're always doing the work. They're always doing something, not just during election year, right? Those community organizers and those city councilmen, right? Let's get behind those folks. They do the work all the time. And that's part of representation and leadership. And from there, that's how we're going to start finding those people that we want to lead us as a community or be our representation when it's time to vote on legislation or create policy that's going to help us all out. But at the same time, man, it's Black History Month, right? I want to end on a good note. There's some things to celebrate. The theme for Black History Month in 2024 was African Americans in the arts, and exploring the significant influence that African Americans have had across various forms of culture expression, including visual and performing arts, literature, fashion, and music, among others. The theme aims to acknowledge the integral role of African American artists have played in shaping the cultural landscape of the United States and beyond. So last year we just celebrated 50 years of hip hop. We know hip hop these days is pop music. We see that when you start following Drake, Kanye West, and then it's touched so much music beyond just hip hop now. Hip hop has infiltrated country. It's infiltrated. Obviously, it is pop. We see it in Afro beats. We see it in everything, and to the point now, we forget that some of the biggest country stars back in the day, and rock and roll stars, they were black. And then we started doing more gospel and R&B, but we've always been in country. And now that Beyonce has this country album coming out, her Act 2, it's highlighting once again so many true black country artists we have. Like, these guys, they just do country as a gimmick. They've been country from the very beginning. So shout out to the stuff like that. Shout out to foundational moments and figures in Black history. The celebration of Black History Month honors legacies of pivotal figures and moments in Black history. This includes activists and civil rights pioneers like Harriet Tubman, Sojourner Truth, Marcus Garvey, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and Rosa Parks. Shout out to that new Hulu special they did on Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. That was dope. It also encompasses leaders of other fields such as Jack Johnson, the first African American heavyweight champion, and Thurgood Marshall, and the first African American Supreme Court justice. Right. Also, historic anniversaries going on this year. 115 years. National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, the NAACP, founded February 12th of 1909, celebrates 115th anniversary in 2024, right? So that just happened not too long ago. This organization has been central to the fight of civil rights and social justice in America. A lot of times we always talk about, we need to create this, we need to create that. Guys, join the Urban League. Join the NAACP. We don't need a new organization. We have organizations there, young people, innovative, bright. Join these organizations. Older people who've been there, make room for the younger people to join your organization so these organizations don't have to die out. Okay? Really simple. If you're young, join the old organization. Give it some new life. If you're old, make way for some new life in your organization. Let's keep these things strong. I don't think I need to say anything else. Also, significant contributions and first. Several African Americans who were first in their fields are being remembered for their groundbreaking contributions. This includes George Edmund Taylor, who ran for president back in 1904, Jackie Robinson, who broke the color barrier in Major League Baseball back in 1947, and Kamala Harris, who made history in 2021 as the first female, black, and South Asian American vice president of the United States. She checked off every box down the list when she did that. But, nonetheless, history was made. And then cultural influence and innovations. Contributions to the African Americans to music and the arts that are also being celebrated. This includes Sister Rosetta Tharpe, known as the godmother of rock and roll, and Quincy Jones, the most nominated artist in Grammy history. Their pioneering work has left an indelible mark on the American music and culture. Speaking of Quincy Jones, if you haven't seen Thriller 40, it's really dope. I didn't watch all of it because I remember Thriller 25 when they did that documentary on Thriller. I remember watching the Thriller documentary on MTV. So I didn't really see a lot of new information in it, but it's still but you haven't seen that information. If your kids don't know who Michael Jackson is, like maybe they know but they don't know. I remember I was in the barbershop recently, and there was a young man there about 11 years old. He said he never heard a Michael Jackson song, and I was just floored. Like, what do you mean you never heard of Michael Jackson? It's like there's certain things that blow up in the black community. Everybody should know who Franklin Beverly and Mays is. Everybody should know Stevie Wonder, Prince, Marvin Gaye. Actually, you should just know everything Motown, right? Everybody should know the stylistics, especially some of y'all fake gangsters, right? Y'all be talking all this, Chicago rapper, drill rapper, this. If you don't know the stylistics, if you don't know the Whistlers, Olivia, you know what I'm saying? Olivia, got this way, got distracted on her way to Grandmama's house. The wolf and sheep clothing came. Who am I to change her way? Na, 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 lost and turned out. That's a song about a pimp trying to trick on a girl. You know what I'm saying? That's the original gangster music. Y'all be talking about y'all gangsters. Y'all don't even know your music history. Y'all don't know the stylistics and y'all don't know the Whispers. You know what I'm saying? Y'all don't know what the gangsters was really listening to. Back then, they was listening to Curtis Mayfield. I'm your mama, I'm your daddy, in the alley. Won't you please come around? You know what I'm saying? I'm your pusher man. Doom, 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 doom. You don't even know your history. Y'all claim y'all gangsters. Y'all don't know what the original gangster music is. How you don't know? You don't even know though. Y'all talking about, your favorite gangster movie is Paid in Full. Don't get me wrong. One of my most favorite quotables. But before that, you had the Mac, you had Dolomite, you had all kinds of stuff that came out. You know what I'm saying? Like, all this history and cultural history you can be proud of. Like, go do y'all research, y'all. Shout out to my man Chris McKinney. He was posting like a movie all this month. He's been posting like a black movie, like stuff like Love Jones and all that stuff that people watch. Like, man, these are movies we should know. Like, let your kids watch Boys in the Hood. Watch it with them, right? Let's be clear. Watch it with them. They're 9 and 10, let them know, like, hey, I remember when my parents had us watch Boys in the Hood. I mean, they preached at us the whole time. You know how black folks are. Black parents are funny because you can't see around black parents, a kid can't do no wrong, nor can they do no good, and you still somehow don't get chastised. I'll give you 2 examples. If a child is cutting up in front of a black parent, I wish you would. I'll beat your butt right now if I ever seen you act like that. Like, but I'm not acting like that. I'm being good. But your mom remind you, I'm going to beat your butt if you ever do that. But I'm being good right now, right? And then, I remember you couldn't watch a black kid do well on TV. You see the kid on Arsenio Hall playing the saxophone or playing the piano on one of these shows. Why can't you do that? You just sit here breathing up my air, eating all my food. Little Negro, what do you do all day? Why can't you be like that boy up there playing the piano? Matter of fact, go downstairs and read a book. They get mad at you for seeing another black kid succeed. See, being a black kid, boy, it's tough, boy. But that's part of our culture. But no, watch those kind of shows with your kids and make it a teachable moment. Like, listen, hey, this is see what Doughboy did. You see what Ricky did. These are things you learn from. You watch stuff like Menace to Society. This is how O-Dog ended up this way. Let this be a teachable moment to say, I don't want you to end up like O-Dog, right? I don't want you to end up like Ace from Paid in Full. You don't have to go through that. Sometimes the long way is the best way. So these movies, while they have some things in it that I think they definitely serve as parental supervision when watching, but it does open up a chance for you to dialogue with your children to really have these conversations that may not always come natural, or maybe it's hard for you to foster these conversations naturally. Use these movies that we have out there in our history. Use this music as a way to open up the doors to greater understanding, right? Let's not shy away from it. It's there. It's art. We've created it. Yes, use it as a way to better teach our children. I remember a popular movie that was watched in a lot of black communities was Just Another Girl on the, what was it? Just Another Girl on the IR, what was the joint? I know a lot of my sisters, my older millennials, my young generation X's, y'all know the movie. I think it's Just Another Girl on the IR. Oh man, I can't think of the name of the movie. But that one right there, talking about, teen pregnancy and all that stuff. Like, great movie, right? A lot of teachable moments in there. So that's basically it for the show today, though, y'all. Like, I just wanted to kind of touch on those things, talk a little bit about our accomplishments, talk a little bit about the election going forward. If Katrina's feeling good, maybe she'll do the next show with me. We'll see. You know what I'm saying? But just want to talk through some things and get back in front of y'all again. If you like what we talking about, of course, you can always donate. We take the donations, y'all. We love a donation. You know what I'm saying? Hook us up. We need all we can get. Pay the bills, So, and don't forget to go check out the Out of Control Bullies page. Don't forget to check out the Granny Sue Records page as well on YouTube, Facebook, IG. Check them out. Before we leave, let me do some quick shout outs and we're going to get up out of here. Shout out to my home church, Kingdom Fellowship. Today they did their HBCU day at church. So everybody wore their HBCU gear if you went to HBCU. Or if you're Greek, they were, everybody wore their Greek gear. So that was dope. So there was a lot of representation in the building. Shout out to the Howard Gospel Choir that was there singing. And then there was like an overarching chorale of local black schools like Bowie and all that stuff. I guess they formed together for a larger choir. So that was dope. Pastor Welly had a great message today, by the way, too. I've been loving that series that he's been doing there. But yeah, shout out to that. That was dope. Actually, all month has been dope. First 2 months, everybody wore African attire. Today, everybody wore HBCU attire or your Greek attire. So, and I think I know there's a theme for the last Sunday of the month, but I forgot. I forgot what it is, but, we'll represent. We'll do our thing. Also, a lot of birthdays going on this month. As I mentioned, my birthday's this month, but that's a side note. Let me get on the birthdays. Today was Tamika Cox's birthday. That's my cousin. Shout out to my homegirl, Cayman Wade. Shout out to the homie, Devin Antoine. Some of y'all may know him as Mr. Waffle Man on IG. Funny comedian out of DC. Recently, we had some birthdays by a couple of my homies as well. Shout out to Tracy Ori. Shout out to Sister Lyles. She just celebrated her birthday yesterday, I believe. Shout out to my man, Terrence McKinney. Reverend Terrence McKinney. And then also shout out to my homie, Michael Roy. Also, big, yay, celebration to the Roy family. I won't put all the business out here, but celebrations to the Roys. But yeah, his birthday had just passed as well. Then we got some upcoming birthdays. Shout out to Harrison Crump, one of my battle buddies for the military. Shout out to Lasanya Robinson, one of my favorite teachers of all time, but she was actually a proctor for me, but she served in a teacher capacity to me. She's a friend of the family. Shout out to Sharonda Renice. Her birthday is the same day as mine. Shout out to Yolette Edwards. Shout out to Rashida Abdullah, who also has a birthday coming up. Her birthday she shares with my daughter Nyla DaCosta on the 24th. Nyla's going to be 10. So shout out to her. Yeah, finally a preteen, I guess now officially. Will be come next Saturday. 10 years old. That's big. And also shout out to the homie's daughter. That's one of Nyla's good friends. Whenever she's in DC, she gets to play with this young lady, Peyton Knowles. Her birthday is the same day as mine, on February 22nd. And yes, this birthday is kind of a big deal for me. So if you just want to throw us if you want to throw us some funds for that reason alone, you could throw some money under the headline, Happy B-Day, Jay DaCosta. I'm turning 40, turning the big 4-0 on the 22nd. And I'm going to say this, and kind of like partially in closing, y'all take care of your health. I've been a generally healthy person, but I guess I have room for more improvement, so I did that. As a result of being sick and making some healthier choices, I lost a lot of weight. I haven't been this small in a long time. I'm on some high school weight right now. I'm trying to get about 10, 15 pounds back, but I'm sitting around about 176 right now. Not bad, because this is really the ideal weight for me. My scale loves it. I have one of those Renfro scales that checks like your body mass, and you got to get on it barefoot, and it checks like everything, height and weight, and it loves it. It's like, oh yeah, you're 5'11", 176. That's perfect. And I'm like, man, I feel frail though. I don't like being the smallest man in the room. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have to get used to being in the 32 waist. I mean, That started last year, but I just wanted to, if I could get a little bit of chest back and some arms, build my calf muscles back a little bit, because being sick, I probably lost about 8 pounds of muscle. But I'm good, y'all. Don't worry about me. I'm just saying, just being transparent. But watch out for your health. Also, I want to make it clear too. When you guys see these publications, a lot of times they're written with their audience in mind, and sometimes, typically, the audience of these health publications are written towards the white counterparts in society, right? We're only 13-12% of society, so if a publication is going out, they're thinking about majority. We're not the majority. So black men, I hate to break it down to you, but you got to start getting that colon check. Like in your 30s, definitely by 40. You're going to have to bend over and take that L. I have a female doctor, so that's just me personally. I try to be one of those toxic men, but I guess I am in so many ways. But yeah, I got a female doctor for that reason, because I just feel more comfortable. Most of my doctors are women. Women do such a great job. You know what I'm saying? Like, actually, shout out to Dr. Matai and Dr. Kanatalapi. They were some of the main ones. And shout out to Dr. Kana as well. He's a male, but the stuff they did for me over the last 2 months to kind of get me back right again, hats off to them. And they took such an interest in my care as well. Shout out to Dr. Gilmer as well. So I'm just saying, like, health is important, but we normally have to do 10 years before whatever they say. So they're telling you start checking your prostate at 50 or at 40. Then because culturally of how we eat, how the amount of sodium we take in, the richness of our food, because we do season our food, that's the reason why we have to start checking for things a little earlier. And keep in mind, a lot of our diet here in America is not native to how we're supposed to eat as sub-Saharan Africans, right? For us, eating certain types of fruits and veggies are beneficial to us. But, now you start talking about milks and dairies and cheeses. That's more fit for a European diet, not necessarily an African diet. So these are the things we kind of have to be watchful of. Drink plenty of water. I'm not trying to advertise this particular water brand, but I do drink a lot of water. Water is essential. 2 things I did, just real quick. We still got 8 minutes. I gave up sugar, so I don't do any sweets anymore. I stopped drinking sugar, which I started kind of counting the calories, just to be transparent. So most of last year, I was I hovered around 205 all last year, right? And I was going to the gym, I was working out, I really couldn't get lower than that. And I kind of see why, because all the sugar, like when you think about, and I'm not even a heavy drinker, I never have been. Even people that know me from college know I was never a heavy drinker. But you drink a little Hennessy, cognac has sugar in it. Now I like cognac more when it comes to liquor because it has a better taste, but a lot of sugar in it. Then I never drink it straight. I mix it with Sprite or, typically like something dark like Pepsi or, ginger ale. It's a lot of sugar in that stuff. One serving of ginger ale could be like 260 calories, and you got all these sugars in there. And so you drink 4 drinks. You drink, and then juice even, right? Apple juice, grape juice. A lot of times you're talking like 260 calories in one serving. And if you're having 8 servings of soda and juice throughout the day, which some of us do, I was guilty of it. You do the math. That's almost 2,000 calories in liquid. Not including eating on top of that. And I feel like, me and my wife generally ate healthy, but I was a sucker last year for those brown butter chocolate chip cookies at Whole Foods. Or every now and then I would get a pie. And the crazy thing is, I wasn't even enjoying sweets that much last year. But, I would still grab a little something here and there. And I just went cold turkey with it. So a big part of the reason why I had some weight loss was just cutting the amount of calories I was drinking between juice and soda. I'm no longer eating sweets. And then even modifying healthy things, like with fruit. Pineapples, watermelon, grapes, oranges, they hold a lot of sugar in it. So I actually cut those out my diet. I only do berries now. And every now and then I have an apple, but I have to be careful about what apples, because apples can hold a lot of sugar as well, right? I don't do bananas either, because bananas hold a lot of sugar. And then I don't drink coffee. I've been doing the mushroom coffee by Rise. I'm not really trying to support their business here because they don't pay us. But shout out to my wife, Katrina. She put me on. She can't have any more because she's pregnant, but I started using it. It's a great way to pick me up in the morning, and it's healthier. I went from, my glucose levels are much better. When I first started checking my glucose early December, it was bad, y'all. I think my glucose was coming in the morning fasted. I was like 170, 180. So then I made those changes, and now my glucose is between 70 and 90 every morning. It spiked a little bit because I'm on prednisone for this sarcoidosis treatment. But even with that, I'm still under 130 in the morning fasted, which is okay. So, yeah, I mean, make those health changes. They're important. I figure I'd be a little transparent on that end. But it's like certain things you just have to give up. And it's for your health. The big things that influenced me to make my changes was one, I was turning 40. Then, I had some of these medical scares that, it wasn't related to diabetes or anything, but at the same time, just made me more cognitive and aware of what I'm eating. I'm looking at the ingredients now and everything I buy. And then, I got a baby on the way, guys. I got to be able to do airplane and be a donkey again for a kid, play horsey. And I can't do that on a banged up 40-year-old body. I got to make this thing feel 25 again, despite my age and despite the gray. So, let's just be cognizant of our health. That's something that we need to focus on a lot all year long. But I think Black History Month is a good kickstart because we're coming off the Daniel fasts. A lot of us want to get right for the summer. This is a good kickoff month for some health things and some health initiatives. So let's do that. And last but not least, before we cut this show off, I want to shout out some black love. Shout out to the bruh, Kenny Williams and his wife to be Simone getting married February 24th down there in Mexico this Saturday. We were supposed to be there, but we had to cancel going down there to support because we had found out late last year that we were expecting, and based off how Katrina's pregnancy been going, it's been smooth, but I don't think that flight to Mexico would have made sense. And then considering the health scares I had, I don't think I would have made a flight to Mexico myself. So I guess God knew what he was doing. But but anyways, I wish we could be there because I know it's going to be a good time. There's going to be a lot of good bros down there. But man, happy marriage to you guys. We're celebrating with you guys in spirit. I'm looking forward to what you guys got going on. I know you guys are going to have a blast, man. Enjoy your time out there. I'm jelly in a good way, but man, it's going to be a blessed time, man. I wish we was there, but we'll see you guys soon, man. Y'all good friends. But look, y'all, thank you guys for watching the show. Really appreciate it. Sorry that we was gone for a while, but your boy was going through it. I was going through it. I was. But God always sees me through every time. I try not to let anybody see me sweat. So it's all good. But once again, thank you guys for watching. If you want to donate to the Nitty Gritty Show, just donate because it's my birthday coming up. I'll take that. You know what I'm saying? One of y'all might want to bless me with $40. I'll take $4. I'll take 40 cents. Hey, some of y'all might be balling. I'll take 4,000 out here. 400. But I'll take that 40. And I'll take that 4. And I'll take that 40 cents. You feel me? Bless me however you see fit. But look, thank you guys for watching the show. We back. Y'all be seeing me. We'll be talking. Right? So get the word out. And man. We out here. Let's go.